right, we have a 1991 Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. It is obviously modified quite a bit, and we're going to go through here and check out some of the mods and whatnot. First things first is that it should be noted that all of these mods were done about 12 to 15 years ago. So with some few exceptions, which I'll point out here in a second. But so I've had this car since 2007. It is literally a barn find. It was owned by a professional golfer in Evansville, Indiana, and he was the first owner, so I'm the second owner. He had drove it all over the golf tour, and he hauled around his golf clubs and all sorts of shit in it. But it got up to about 140,000 miles, and he parked it in a garage. He had a family, and his wife finally told him to get rid of it. So I went down and picked it up out of the barn in Evansville back in 2007, and I've had it ever since. It had the turbo, one of the turbos were blown. It did run, but it ran really bad. It was blowing white smoke, and had very poor acceleration, and it was basically blowing oil out one of the turbos. And so I had it parked for about 6 months, and then we got to upgrading it. Again, this is back in 2007. So there's about $15,000 worth of Go Fast goodies on this. This is back then, so I have no idea how much it would cost now to do what we did. But I'll just give you a little walkthrough of what's going on. First is we do have the Stillen body kit, and the good thing about this particular body kit is it's polyurethane. It's not fiberglass, so there's some pros and cons with that. Fiberglass, of course, you can mold it a little better. You can build it up, sand it down, cut it if need be. It's basically able to form fit it a little bit differently, as opposed to polyurethane. It's kind of, you get what you get. So you can see it's not a perfect fit here. The lines don't line up great, so that's one of the downsides about polyurethane. One of the good sides is it doesn't shatter and break like fiberglass does if you hit a curb. So it has some flexibility, and fiberglass doesn't have that flexibility. It's more rigid. So this is kind of rubbery. Some side markers are upgraded. Clear side markers. The stock are like orange, clear part, orange in the middle. These are stock fog lamps. This is actually a fireplace grill, and it has a cool pattern in there. This is also an add-on. The original stock version has a Nissan emblem. This, of course, is also polyurethane, kind of sits in there. Stock headlights. Low beams are the circular ones. High beams are the big square. I did go for an actual carbon fiber hood. This is not fake. It's not a sticker. It's not vinyl. It is real carbon fiber. This is the stock ride height. So I didn't do anything with the suspension at all. No coilovers, no springs. This is stock. A lot of cars from the era, late 80s, early 90s, they have a gap so big here you can fit your head in. But this ride height's pretty good, for 1991. So I just went with the same size tires and wheels. Upgraded brake kit. Those are Brembo drilled and slotted rotors and Hawk pads, I believe. Those are painted calipers. I did that. That's not stock. And we got some rough wheels on there. Our side skirts are fiberglass. Those are molded in. Kind of like how that turned out. It has a good shape to it. The rear valence is a little interesting because most body kits at the time is you take off the stock bumper and you replace it with a fiberglass bumper or polyurethane. This is neither. This is actually fits over the top. You can see it fits in here. And this has actually been molded in. We do have some clear corners. The stock, I believe, is orange. I went with the carbon fiber look with the lenses, because if you have a top view, if you remember, the hood is carbon fiber, and we go back here, we have some carbon fiber inserts inside. I'll show you. Then we have a carbon fiber wing. And then of course we end with carbon fiber tail lights. That's not real carbon fiber, unlike the hood. This is just a plastic faux fiberglass. Stock version of this, a stock turbo version, you're gonna have this big whale wing coming off the ass end here. And what sucks about that is they warp, they get all wavy and gross. So if you want to take it off, this centerpiece here is actually part of the wing, of the stock wing. So to take off that stock wing on the turbos, you have to replace this centerpiece once the wing is removed. So that wing was removed, we put the centerpiece in, and then you can mount the aftermarket wing here. And of course, if you have a big ridiculous aftermarket wing, you have to have big and ridiculous end plates. These are actually one of the few things I added recently. So that wing I've had on there since 2008. Japanese kanji, you're probably guessing what that means. No, it doesn't mean I love rice or I like cock or anything like that. It actually says Nissan Motor Corporation at the bottom of the door. And that is Z32, which is the model. And of course we have to have our evil praying mantis insignia in the middle there. This motor is from Japan. It's a 1996 Fairlady Z motor, twin turbo. And do any work at all on these cars, you pretty much need to take out the whole damn motor and have like an engine out service. Working on this car without doing that is very difficult, for the simple fact is, as you can see, there is no damn room anywhere for a wrench or for your hand or anything else. So simple maintenance like you do on a regular car becomes a complete pain in the ass on this car. So what we did is when we had the Jap takeout motor come in, we had it up on the jack stands, up on the cherry picker, and we did everything all at once. All seals, all valves, all gaskets, all belts, everything, the peripheral units you can replace, the pulleys, water pump, oil pump, and then put it all in at once, and you're good to go. One of the most difficult things to work on in this car is the turbos. They are buried up underneath there, and everything is inaccessible as it sits. The oil lines, to disconnect the housing, the turbo lines here, the hoses, just a giant pain in the ass. So if you ever need to service the turbos, you need to pull the whole damn motor out and go from there. One of the things we had to switch up was the wire harness, and the ECU is different, of course, because they have right hand side and we have left hand side. Our ECU's on this side and their ECU would be on this side. So if you look at their wire harness, everything is reversed. So when you get a Jap takeout motor, you cannot use the same wiring harness because their ECU is on the opposite side. So you have to take off your stock wiring harness from the US version and then put in your Jap takeout motor and then reapply the US version stock wiring harness. You cannot use the Japanese one. Problem with that is all the sensors and the wire looms usually on the US versions are brittle and they break. So a lot of these hoses you just need to replace when you do the engine swap, especially the sensors. We had to cattail and solder in all new fuel injection wires, sensor wires, basically everywhere you see, because these stock connectors are really brittle. They will break and this turns to stone. I did actually use the stock tubes, but these get really hard as well. Over here, they make silicone tube upgrades. So all this blue stuff you see, that's actually new. That's about a year old, because those turn to stone. Also, over time, these screws will come loose, and these are your fuel lines and fuel vapor lines. And so you'll notice that because you'll start smelling gasoline when you park. And simple fix, you just tighten these down. One of the few things you can work on, it's still a giant pain in the ass, but one of the few things you can work on is the cooling assembly here. I had a water pump, although it was new, it actually came apart in two pieces. And when it did that, my fan fell apart and shot into the radiator, chewed this all up, broke all the belts, and it just fucked up everything. So that was unfortunate, but allowed me to replace everything brand new. So this did not require motor takeout. You can just remove the radiator, and again, I would do everything all at once. So all it was just a water pump, but we did the fan, radiator, thermostat, all the housings, all the hoses, all the belts, timing belts, all the pulleys, etc. Everything up front to do, because once you have this tore apart, just get it done. Don't spare any costs on that, because it'll save you in the long run. This has upgraded intercoolers, 555 fuel injection. We do have some heavily upgraded turbos. These are the ball bearing, I think, Garrett 530s. We have a pop charger system up front, so it's a little deceiving because it looks kind of stocky at the surface, but it is far from stock. One thing I'd recommend is, if you're going to upgrade these cars, do it more or less as a kit, as a package. Of course, you can try to piecemeal whatever the hell you want together and try to save a buck or two. But what we did is we went to Jim Wolf Technologies, and they basically tell you, well, they ask you what kind of horsepower you want, and we said we wanted over 500, and so they say this is what you need to make it happen. So again, to do everything, it has to all be balanced and calibrated, and so it's engineered to all work together. So you can't just put on bigger turbos and hope for best. When you do a turbo upgrade, you have to upgrade virtually a lot of the assemblies that go along with it. So the main thing actually is the ECU. We had to take out the stock ECU and send it to Jim Wolf. They map it out to the specific items you're going to upgrade with, and that includes, you know, the intercoolers, the fuel injection, the turbos itself, and the pop charger system. They tell you what brands to get. They make a lot of stuff in-house. Otherwise, you get it from Z1 Motorsports. And once you have that package all together, they'll map out the ECU for you for whatever horsepower you're putting together, and you'll have a complete job. And that way you know everything's balanced. You don't got to tune it really. It's already tuned once you get the ECU back. You just got to assemble everything as they suggested. Then we're going to get to the controversial issue is, of course, this is an automatic. Now, this was not, you know, cutting corners or saving money or anything like that. That was intentionally done. So when I got this Jap takeout motor, it did have a 5-speed manual. We took that out and we put in the stock automatic transmission, and you're probably all shitting yourself like, now why the fuck did you do that? Well, I'll tell you two things. First of all, when you have, at least in this car, I can't speak to any other cars, this is just one that we built, when you have like the 5-speed manual in this particular car, you lose a lot of boost shifting in between gears. These automatic transmissions in this particular make and model maintain the boost throughout the entire power curve, so you lose no boost. All you gotta do is stomp on this son of a bitch and it goes. And that's the other thing, is that this thing has very significant torque steer. So when you stomp it and it goes, it is hard to keep on the road. The ass end slides out from underneath. It's hard to steer it unless you know what you're doing. And so if, you know, you're shifting while trying to steer with that massive torque steer going on, it's hard to maintain. At least for me. I mean, I'm sure other people are expert drivers and they can do the 5-speed no problem with, you know, many more horsepower than this. But for me, I didn't want to fuck with that. So I kept the automatic transmission on purpose to maintain the boost throughout the power curve, and I wanted to keep both hands on the steering wheel and just mash the throttle and just go in a straight line. This car was not built for track or any type of cornering. This is built for a straight line missile, and the turbo has worked out awesome. So I have no regrets, no qualms, no issues with it at all. I would do the same thing again. And there has been some reports that the automatic transmissions on these are faulty. I didn't have that problem at all. I've had this car for about 15 years and I've abused the hell out of it. I've raced it many times, just stomp on a throttle and hope for the best. And I haven't had no leaks, no shifting problems, nothing going on at all. So my opinion is the stock automatic transmission is pretty solid. It is heavy. These cars are not agile and light. They're big, fat, and heavy. And that rear hatch alone weighs about 400 pounds. But as far as straight line goes, this is a rocket. One caveat to that is this car has significant turbo lag. So basically anything can beat this off the line. You know, your family van, truck, moped, anything can beat this car off the line. It's very slow because of turbo lag. But once the turbos kick in and you get boost, it's over. You're gonna smoke basically anything. So a lot of the stock late 80s, early 90s cars have horrific color combinations with the interior and the exterior. You can find Z's of this same age, make and model, and they have like a blue or a red exterior, and you can find blue or red interior inside. It looks pretty horrible. This is one of the better color combinations in my opinion. We do have black interior, and the stock color was white. This is not the stock paint job. This is actually a Cadillac color, Cadillac Escalade 2008, 2010 pearl white. That's what it got upgraded to. But anyway, one of the cool features is we have, this is stock inserts. I did not do that. Those are not upgraded or aftermarket. This is some stock carbon fiber. Well, it's actually faux carbon fiber. I think it's just plastic that looks like carbon fiber, but nevertheless, it is stock. So it's pretty sexy. So we got these outlines here of the door buttons, and I don't know if you can see this, but this is also carbon fiber around the vent there. And when you sit inside the cockpit, we have more of the same around the fans, stereo, and center console. So thought that was pretty damn cool. Again, I did not do this. This came like this, a cool stock option. Disarticulated vent. So we have a vent coming out of here in the dash. It lines up there with the door. So when the door is closed, we have a confluent system coming from the dash here to this vent. So the vent is actually in the door. How badass is that? If you see that the seatbelt is there on the door, it's not attached to, you know, the B pillar or the body itself. We decided to put everything possible in the two pods. We got your left, we got your right, and we got our fog lamps up here, dimmer switch, and of course the headlights. Turn signal. Look how small this cruise control. It's pretty tiny. And then of course over here we have the rest of the climate control. So this is digital, and you can just put on auto for whatever temperature you want, or manually mess with it over here. And then we have all the washing mechanisms down here, which that's a big chunk. I mean, modern cars just have like the pull lever back and forth, but we got the rear wiper controls, and then the front wiper controls, and then of course the speed. We do have a turbo timer included, and as far as the odometer goes, we're sitting at about $1.49. When I pulled this car out of the barn down in Evansville, it had 141, and that was in 2007. So since the build, I've only put about 8,000 miles on the clock. Because a lot of the aftermarket upgrade Fast and Furious type cars did the cat back system, and they want to make sure you kept the catalytic converter in there. But we developed a patented cat through system, which basically means you keep the catalytic converter just as shell only, and you place a custom pipe all the way through. So if someone were to look up underneath there, they see a catalytic converter, but it ain't doing shit. It's just the pipe going through the shell. So this has a custom exhaust system. There is no catalytic converter at all, just a couple straight pipes going to the back. We do have aftermarket stereo and cool sub box. I had an Alpine back here before, and it shit the bed about 6 months, a year ago. So I upgraded with some Rockford Fosgates and some subs to match. So it does have a cool blow off valve kit, and it sounds really nice when you're spooling up and getting some boost. I don't know if I can make it chirp here in the driveway. We'll give it a shot. So it sounds pretty good.